Welcome to another episode of the Closers Club. I'm joined today with Dexter Jenkins. I've known Dexter for many, many years, and I'm really excited to learn more about him, to allow him to share his story so that it'll continue to inspire me and others like me who are in real estate and folks who are looking to get into the game and really take action, because that's what this brother's all about. So what's going on today, Dexter?
Man, I'm excited to finally be in the Closers Club.
Welcome, man. Welcome. And we're happy to have you here, man. Good stuff, man. So you just got back from a speaking tour. And right, you were talking about some real estate and some different things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, I was part of a group that spoke at the Power Networking Conference, and so we just came back from Houston, Texas. And so it's the Power Network Conference is run by a guy by the name of Dr. George Fraser, and for the last 23 years, what he's strived to do is bring African Americans together to network and build coalitions and things of that nature, because we can do more together as opposed to apart. And so that's the gist of it. So, but for the first day, so it was a 4-day conference, but on the first day, it was all dedicated to real estate. So that was the first time they'd ever had an all real estate part of it. Mm-hmm. And so one of the guys who I know, he said, hey, can you come in and talk about the intersection of faith, finance, and real estate? And so that was cool. And so we probably had about 500, 600 people there. And then, just really trying to get people to see that there's no conflict between their faith and them doing well financially. And, I talk a lot about, God wants them to own real estate, which is, for some people, they were like, wow, so it was good.
I love it, man. And, I grew up in the church as well. And there's something I struggle with coming up, right? It's like, all right, because we hear the root of all evil, money is the root of all evil, right? But, people forget about that little piece. It's the love of money.
Correct.
Is the root of all evil. And
exactly.
So, I think that's really something that a lot of folks get tripped up on,
right,
especially in the Christian faith, growing up in the church and believing that they should not pursue wealth.
Exactly.
They should not pursue business and really, being out here manifesting the life that they want for themselves. And I think it holds folks back.
Well, ain't no think, it is. I mean, that's probably 99% of the conversation I have with people, because they're fascinated by the fact that I'm a full-time pastor, but I'm almost full-time in real estate too. And they're like, how are you doing both of them? It's like, well, I have a lot of, if as I schedule my time, just like all of us got 24 hours in a day. It's all how you schedule it. And so I don't waste a lot of time. I'm very efficient with what I do. But, a lot of people have that barrier in their mind that wealth is over here, and their faith, whatever faith they ascribe to, is over here. And I'm always trying to tell people like that there is no conflict between that, because you look at business and real estate, it's all about serving people.
Correct.
And so the more people we serve, the more money we make. And so I shot a video this morning before I came here. The guy was talking about, the gist of his video was this. He was talking about Apple, and he said, Apple's making ungodly sums of money. And he said it like 3 times. I'm just like, what's up with that?
Right.
And so I'm like, so what we've done in our society, we have equated making a lot of money with being ungodly. And I'm just like, well, poverty is ungodly.
That's ungodly. That's right. I'm with you 100%.
Broke and poor, that's ungodly. And so
I love it.
And so it's in our psyche. So when you start talking about making them son of money, we're talking about making, man, and it's like you're thinking like, if I have, other people can't have. And that's not the case. There's more than enough to go around.
That's right.
And so just trying to get people to say, hey man, there's no conflict. And actually, and I'm not trying to head in this direction, but we think we head in that direction.
Yep.
God has ordained some people to be business people.
You need it. Society needs it.
We need business people.
Correct.
And so, because I don't believe that the solutions are going to come from the White House or the State House.
Right.
And I believe the solutions are going to come from people like you and I, people who listen to this podcast, who are able to help people through real estate and accumulate wealth, and then be able to as they do well, do good as they do well. You know what I mean? If do well, they do good. And so that's the mindset. I spend 99% of my time just on that alone.
I believe it, and that's why I'm talking about it, Dexter. Kind of, I didn't expect the conversation to go here so quick, but it's, I think, important to note, right? I heard a great quote from Jim Rohn many years ago, great motivational speaker.
Legend.
He is, and he was talking about actually, something that the lesson he learned from observing Jesus and listening to and reading the Bible and listening to how he spoke and how he lived. And he said, service to many is the key to greatness.
Thank you.
And we are here to serve each other.
Right.
Whether it's through business, whether it's through charity, whatever your heart is, whatever it is in your heart to serve.
Exactly.
That's what life is, right? We're here for others. We're here. You can't live alone. If you're living on an island doing nothing but surviving every day, that's not life. That's not living.
No, because we're very interrelated.
Correct.
You know, everything is interrelated. You know, so
Right.
I mean, from the guy who takes your trash and my trash is on Monday.
Yep.
I mean, I ain't trying to go to the dump.
That's right. Yep.
I'm glad to take it to the curb and have my man take it to
That's
the dump. And I appreciate him for doing that.
100%.
You know what I mean? And so I think just looking at business as a vehicle for service, real estate as a vehicle for service. And now people have hang-ups with getting paid for gift service. Now you don't get paid for everything, all of it. You know, some things you do for free on chair and things of that nature. But, you know, in our business, you know, when you go and develop something or you fix or flip a house or whatever else, Jesus said this, you know, a workman is worthy of his hire.
Right.
So that means that if I put the work in, I should be compensated. And so that's another big thing I'm just talking to people about. Stop doing everything for free, because many of us do much too much for free.
Great point.
You know, and so one of my mentors always stresses that here we go with this Bible thing again. But yeah, that's I'm a pastor, y'all. But anyway.
Yep, it's all good. No need to apologize, man. Truth is truth.
He always say your affections follow your money. So meaning I can tell what you're passionate about, but what you spend your money on.
That's right. Yep.
So this thing of, so if I'm trying to get people to be passionate about real estate, I got to charge them, because I don't know about you, but you know, some of the coaches I have, they ain't cheap. And so,
they're not.
So when I pay them, I'm all locked in, and my affections are towards that program I'm getting involved with.
You're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, and so you know, you have to charge people on some level. You know, not all the time, but you know, I think a lot of times, because a lot of people are after the freebies, and obviously this is the podcast with freebies, YouTube is freebies. But at some point, you have to make the investment in yourself.
Correct.
Through that particular program.
Yeah, no, I believe, you know, especially kind of just in the way of self-education and what's out there, there's a lot of free information on YouTube University, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and all these platforms. But if you want actual mentorship and coaching, you know, obviously you need to make that investment in yourself. Right. You know, and because
that takes you to the next level. I mean, I started going out. I mean, my wife and I got involved in real estate on an investing side like in 2016, around 2017. We started. But I started going to all these Boston REIA meetings. You know, I just started popping in on them. So, you know, sometime it was, you know, short money, $20 to get in or whatever. But I started there. And then once I started going to these meetings, and then, you know, start checking out people on YouTube and things of that nature. So that's where I started. But I recognized if I'm going to take the next step, I can't keep coming to YouTube. I can't keep going to these REIA meetings and expecting me not to make an investment, because, you know, I just recognized that as an athlete, because that's where my training really is. I came to Boston as a I'm aging myself here. In the fall of 1987 on a basketball scholarship.
Nice. What school?
Northeastern.
Nice. Good stuff.
I was scout captain and basketball player. I did all that stuff. You know, but I recognized I needed a coach from basketball for me to get the most out of my potential, because and I recognized that I'm not going to push myself the way I need to push myself, but also a coach accelerates my progress.
Correct.
You know, so I don't have time to wait 5, 10, and 15. Yeah, I need somebody to say, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, this is the result you're going to get. And so I always tell people, listen, coaching is invaluable. And so the money that you may be giving that coach, if the coach helps you get to where you need to be, man, that's the best investment you can make.
Absolutely, Dexter. And it's funny because a lot of folks don't realize, but anyone in the world at the highest level in their profession has a coach.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Michael Jordan, you know, he had multiple coaches. all these players, Serena Williams,
you
right?
You can just go on and on with people who are high level. I was listening to a podcast the other day driving back from Connecticut, and a woman was talking about Tony Robbins, and he charges $1 million for some of his clients.
Right.
So, and she named like Serena Williams and people like that. So Serena Williams, who is, you know, probably the GOAT of tennis, she has a coach. And
Correct.
She's paying, obviously, she can afford $1 million per year, but, you know, she recognizes, or what we say back in the game, recognizes game.
That's right.
And so you recognize that, hey, in order to take my game to where I need to go, I need to invest on a level and get somebody who's been there, done that, got the T-shirt, got the hat, so I can get to where they need to go to.
Absolutely, man. Let's backtrack a little bit, too. So Appreciate you sharing kind of a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah.
You came to Boston on a basketball scholarship. Speak a little bit, Dexter, about kind of how you were raised, where'd you come from, and your journey from childhood to adulthood to Boston and into being a pastor in the real estate.
Exactly. Well, I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, a couple hours away. A son of very much of you. I mean, you and I were talking because Rob came and spoke at our conference that we had a couple months ago. At this point in June, and actually the next one we're doing is April 27th. So save the date for that. But anyway,
I'm in. Let's do it.
But anyway, yep. I grew up in a house. My dad was a barber. Mom worked in the factory. Faith was a big part of my house, as you probably know. My mom was very, what they would call religious, maybe go to church every Sunday. But my dad was a barber and owned real estate. So I got my faith side from my mom and the entrepreneurial, money-making side from my dad. So that's sort of how I live my life still. That there are things that my mom placed in me that I use as a pastor. But then there are things that I saw because I grew up in a barber. I'm the only child, so I grew up in the barbershop. So my first vision of entrepreneurship were guys, men and women standing behind chairs without a guarantee of anybody coming through the door and building a life for themselves.
Wow. It's powerful,
powerful
for a young person to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what it was then, but looking back at it now, I do. And then, my dad was always one who said, look, I'm going to give you a roof and food. The rest is on you. So clothes and whatever else. If you want to look all pretty and all that, that's what I'm back in the day. I'm aging myself again. Run DMC was hot.
They're still hot. They made a comeback.
Just a whole nother level. So I walk around in Adidas and the fire leather coat and all that. But I ain't buying that. So if you want that, go get a job. So, at 12, Rob, I was delivering papers. Now, nowadays, they don't have that. So nowadays, it's sort of, paper's sort of obsolete now. But anyway, when years later, adults were delivering papers. But when I was a kid, I was 12 and 13 years old delivering papers. So what I had to do was from Monday, actually 7 days a week, I had to deliver at a paper route, and I had to ring the doorbell. I had to collect money. Wow. So it was a distribution, customer service, all that stuff. Man, I was picking up, but from 12 to I did that to like 17 years old.
Wow.
And so when people ask me where did I start, I've always been around it. Just the entrepreneurial thinking. And then if I go to my family, my aunts and uncles, everybody is entrepreneurial and barbers and things of that nature. So it's almost like in a Jenkins DNA that obviously, some of them have jobs, but, all of us have an ownership mentality. All of us have an entrepreneurial mentality. And so it's been second nature. My wife always jokes because I'm married 26 years in June. But one of the things, when we first got our first house, it was a 3-family in Dorchester right off Gallivan Boulevard. I should have kept that house. But anyway, that's a whole
We've all got those stories.
Just like, I should have kept that house.
Right. I got a bunch of those.
Oh, my goodness, I should have kept that house. But anyway, right around the corner from Kearney Hospital.
Yep.
And so my wife was like, let's get a 1-family. I'm like, no, let's get a 3-family. And she always brings that story up saying, I grew up in a 1-family, but you were insistent on us getting a 3. Now, I don't even remember having a conversation, but it was just so in me to have.
Right, it's just second nature.
Yeah, it was just second nature. I'm like, why get one unit? Why we have somebody pay for it while we live, rent free on the first floor? And so, that was our first start. We ended up selling that house. Now, we bought that house for like, please, back. Oh my goodness, my son is 20. He'll be 25 in a couple of days. So that was like 1998. Bought that. Yep. For like $200,000.
Crazy.
The house is worth like $1
million too.
Oh,
another $1 million. Add $1 million to that.
I could kick myself with both feet. That we didn't keep. But that's just where we were at the time, and
you didn't know what you didn't know.
Didn't know what I didn't know, and so part of my passion now is through real estate is really educating people on not just buying a house, but how do we use real estate as a wealth creation too? Because if someone wants to say, hey, Dexter, take this, take equity out of that, roll over in something else, man, my portfolio would be a lot bigger than what, but it was just like the people who told me to get a house and then stop there.
Correct.
And it's like, nah, man, don't start with 1, get 2 and 3. And one of the things that, because, I mean, but the audience doesn't know that we do a podcast. We also do we do a show, a TV show and a podcast. But, I'm always talking to people about, one of the big mistakes I see people making is that they buy their house and they just stop there and it's their primary residence. So, they don't think about being able to, okay, how can I use this to catapult me there? How can I use the equity? Oh my God, I could never use the equity. I'm like, it's dead money.
Right.
It's dead money sitting there. So why don't we take that? I'm not saying go there and buy boats and do dumb stuff, but how can we use the equity in your home to be able to help you to leverage and get other assets? And because leverage is, as you know, we're in crowd lending, so
right.
It's all about leveraging. I shot another video and I was talking about Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, some of you, we in Boston, all of y'all know.
Oh yeah, I'm just contracting NBA history.
Yeah. I'm talking to different audiences. I was in Detroit talking, so I said Jaylen Brown. They're like, who is that?
Oh, we know well.
But here we know who Jaylen Brown is.
That's right.
So he got the highest contract in NBA history, like $300 million or something. And so I shot a video and I said, how can you? But basically, the gist of the video was, how can you use leverage to make Jaylen Brown type of money?
Right. Exactly.
Because that's how you do it. It's this thing called leverage. And if we know what we're doing, we can make it for longer, because an NBA player has a very short lifespan as far as how much money they can make. They ain't getting out here and they're making $50 million for somebody else paying on that. But in real estate and other things that you leverage, man, you could do that forever, not only for you, but for generations.
Correct. Yeah.
And so just trying to educate people and enlighten people and really break the fear down for people.
Right.
Because that's the major thing that's hindering, in my opinion, is hindering people from moving forward. But they are so afraid of making mistakes, or they are so afraid it's not going to work out. And I was telling the people on Houston the other day, I said, every deal's not going to work out. There's some cases, sometimes you're going to lose money. Sometimes you're going to thank God I just broke even.
Yeah, no, we've all been there.
Yeah, we've been there, Yep. So, but it's the mindset and the determination. Look, I'm gonna do this thing, and then when you do that, everything else, it may not be peachy keen, but over a long period of time, and as you get better, it works out for you.
No, absolutely, great points. There's a lot in there to unpack. So one thing I want to speak on that you mentioned, fear. You were clear on that, and I could see that it was very clear that that's a barrier for a lot of folks. Was there ever a time where you encountered fear on your real estate journey?
Of course.
And if so, how did you overcome it? What was that situation like? Maybe it was a milestone or hurdle you had to get over.
It was my first one. I think, your first couple of deals, it goes from HGTV world to like, this is real. this is real money, man. And so I think my background, I was less afraid than other people. And then also because I had done other entrepreneurial things, I was less afraid. And then, I've started a church. That's an entrepreneur, man.
How
like, guarantee with
speak
that.
On that, because that's a tough model, right?
Exactly.
You got a church on every corner in Boston. For those that don't know, and
right,
people got options, people got choices.
Tons of options. Some don't even go at all.
Right there, you go.
And so I've learned that as I move forward, fear dissipates.
Great point.
Fear is a bully.
Yep.
And the bully has to be fought. I grew up we grew up in neighborhoods. Dude, if you fight the bully, even if you lose,
right,
it's just different.
It's over. It's
over. Yeah.
It's over after that. Right.
And so it becomes this thing of, I always tell people, listen, I don't care if you take steps and your knees are shaking. Take the step. Now, it doesn't have to be you. You mean you quit your job and do nothing crazy. You ain't got to do that. But, take the step on a level that you can take it. And what you begin to find is, back to my pastoring God thing, I believe that as you begin to take steps, God begins to open doors for you. But it'll never be open if you don't take the step. And so I'm always encouraging people. And so that's why we do what we do, conferences and videos, because what I'm trying to do is, and you're doing it too, and other folks who are very other folks in Boston doing it, is provide this environment and this incubator where courage can be built.
That's right. Yep. Building the foundation.
Yeah, because courage is a muscle, just like anything else. And so the more you do, so I've started a church, and so that's why I'm like, okay, I've done that. I've stood in front of people like this. People got a church on every corner, got options of where they go. So my wife and I have done that, and so I just carry that right over into the real estate piece. And so, the first couple of deals we started, like I said, in 2017, we started in New Bedford. got a couple pieces of property down there, and you just all right. I did hard money, and then you're fixing and flipping, and so we flipped one and kept one, But I learned that as I this every project teaches you something. You've never arrived. It's school for every project.
Yep.
every project is like school, and so I learned that as we kept moving forward, and I had good people around me, good mentors around me who I could pick up the phone and be like, hey, man, how do you deal with this? Or how do I do that? And so between taking the action steps and then having the mentors around me, and then, I'm always a student and always trying to learn and always trying to pick up stuff. And so, calling people and asking questions, things of that nature. And so between taking the practical steps and then also getting around good people, fear began to dissipate. Now, my next level is doing bigger deals now.
Right.
So one of the guys that spoke at that conference that we had, he's Tommy Jones.
Yep.
And so, he's big in Dallas market.
Yep.
So he's talking about, yeah, man, Cyrus Madden. He's like, I'm doing a 121 unit property out in Texas. I'm just like,
everything's bigger in Texas.
Like 121. I'm like, dude,
right.
And so he's speaking on another level. He's talking about, I raised $7 million, I raised $30 million. I'm like, dang.
Yeah, but that's the game. It's about raising capital. That's what people don't realize in real estate.
And we talked about that at breakfast that time. Yeah,
they think it has to be your money.
Yeah,
whether you leverage your property, whether you leverage relationships, whether you build a fund. Now, obviously, you've got to have the experience and track record to allow you to qualify to raise that type of money. But at the end of the day, the biggest investors I know out here, they've got very little, if any, of their own money in the deals. And that's the truth.
And when you and I, just so y'all know, when he and I went to Rob and I went to breakfast like about a month ago.
Like 3 weeks?
About 3 weeks ago. Yeah, something like that. And that was the biggest thing I took from you. From that breakfast is like, and I knew that heading into this year, I said, Dexter, one of the things you need to do is get better at raising capital.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
And it's a necessity if you want to scale.
Yeah. And so I need to get better. And so part of what I've been able to do, and so that's why I sort of ramping up my social media stuff so people know what I do. One of my mentors said this, he said, if I go to your social media, do people know that you're an investor?
Right.
Or are you posting pictures of dogs and cats and I'm over here in Cancun and I'm over here in the Bahamas? All right, praise God for that. But dude, I'm trying to let people know I'm out here doing business. You know what I mean? And so that's why I tell people, man, get on LinkedIn, get on, I can't take which one to get on, but I like LinkedIn and Instagram. But whatever you do, people should know at some level that you're an investor.
I agree. I mean, when it comes to building your brand, some folks follow influencers and emulate them, right? They want to have a look. They want to show vacations. They want to show all of that. But if you're about business, guys, you've got to showcase yourself as a business person. It's important. Now, don't get me wrong. Sprinkle in your personal stuff too, your kids and all that, if that's who you are.
Right.
But at the end of the day, folks should know what you do, and they should know what kind of value you potentially can bring to their lives based on what you do.
And I think, that's how, you were at the conference. The room was full because of my social media.
Correct.
It's just like people know what I do because, hey, man, I saw you over here. Because, see, what people do is this, and I've done this too. People stalk you online.
Oh, yeah. You just don't know it. They're watching.
I stalk you online. I'm like, yeah.
It's all good. That's why I share.
Hey, exactly.
That's why I share.
So I stalk folk online. So I recognize if I'm stalking folk online, people stalking me.
Correct.
And so it's this thing of people, and this is a tip for you guys out there, if because a lot of times people say what they're afraid of, I don't have any experience and I'm doing anything. Well, just begin to document your journey. That's all I've done is I've documented, hey, I'm over here in New Bedford. Hey, I'm over here such and hey, I'm over here in this. So I'm not trying to come across as a know-it-all because you can never know it all. You never have arrived.
Right.
But what I'm doing is as I'm walking through a house, I'm taking pictures or I'm recording stuff, and then I'll post it to my Instagram. I'll post it to my LinkedIn. And so I think the more people can get a sense of other folk knowing what you do. Now it comes time now to start talking about projects and capital, because and this is just in business and anything, you need to be top of mind.
Always, right?
So when someone said, "Hey, my auntie's got a house to sell. Let me call Rob. Or let me call Dexter." Well, dude, if they send your pictures of you at the Bahamas, or you over here at Chipotle,
he's on vacation.
They might do it. Come on, man, you over here with your dog now. And to your point, now I don't use social media for personal stuff. Right. I just use it for business and ministry.
Yep.
Well, other folk I know, they like to, and I'm not flashy anyway. So even if I had a Lamborghini, you wouldn't know.
Was that yours parked outside just now?
No. If I had a Lamborghini, had a Rolex, you wouldn't know if I had. Hey man, I just think that I'm just a very low key type of person, just in general.
Right.
I like jeans and hoodies, and that's my flow that I like to.
Yep.
Normally. But I do recognize that there is a part of just sharing some of your part of your life, and then I also believe, I like my wife and my kids to have somewhat of a private life.
Right. Yeah, that's my wife's big concern, because we've been approached to do shows on HGTV many times, and we actually did a casting call for one, and she pulled out halfway through. She's like, just from the privacy side. Yeah.
Because if you're like me. If I go out to have dinner, I don't want nobody run up with me talking about, "Hey, Rob, can you?" I'm like, "Dude, can I eat my steak?"
Yeah, I've had it happen over the years. I've had it happen over the years.
Me too. I'm just because I'm a public figure from basketball, and I'm pretty good in basketball, and then as a pastor, so I'm all, "Hey, pastor, hey," and so I get it. But so I can imagine if you're on another level where you're on TV, and I can't even take my son to the park.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I just think that there should be somewhat of a separation between, because your kids are only small for so long.
Right, and you got to enjoy that time.
Yeah, and you got to enjoy that time. Yep. I want somebody, "Hey man, can you talk about flipping out?" Nah, I'm at the park with my son.
Right. Yeah. No, my kids have seen. I had one guy actually chasing their bus one time, which was crazy. Like, "I know your father," and scared the heck out of my kids. They were like, "What?"
They're like something.
That was back 2017, 18, where I really got a huge following on Instagram that year. And it was like, very strange.
Dude, you crazy?
Yeah, they got afraid.
Yeah, like I'm a very private person, even though I live a very public life. But there's certain parts of my life.
Yep.
Man, I ain't never posting. I'm over here at dinner with my wife. You'll never know that.
That's right. Yep.
That's my time and her time. I don't need to take a picture of that and post it on the Instagram. Now that's how some people flow. That's fine. But I'm just saying, for me, and going back to what we're talking about business and real estate, however you decide to do it, some of your posts should know that you're in real estate.
Always. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Question for you, Dexter, relative to your journey here. What would you say was the biggest obstacle in your real estate career, and how did you overcome it thus far? Was that
COVID?
So what happened during COVID?
We were flipping 2 houses during COVID in New Bedford, and they shut the town down.
No work.
Now,
for how long?
Now, contractors could come in, but to get inspections. Right.
That was it.
Oh, my goodness. He was like, the mayor's not letting people in. I'm just like, it's an empty house.
Right.
Yeah, the mayor's not letting, so right. I don't know if they were saying that because they didn't want to work, or they were just like, it was for real.
No, I dealt with it in Boston.
Oh, my goodness. So it was just crazy for and so it strung out. I think 3 of our projects were strung out because of it, and so we just, I would say how we overcame it was, number one, time, but then, we also have some very good relationship that we really developed with people down there. And so, right. And because we've always tried to be above board with everything that we do. And so when we started a project, we'd always, there was a couple inspectors that I met, one in particular, he and I hit it off. And so I was like, "Hey man, I got this flip kicking off. Can you come out and check it out?" And so we had built some relationships, and then one of the guys because I'm on Scott Meter's team, so one of his guys, I think, is a city councilor, and so he was able to make some calls for me and things of that nature. But that was right. Probably the biggest hurdle, man, was trying to do things during that COVID period. So that really it was probably like a 2-year period where things were just really touch and go. Right. And the thing about it is, even though you can't get things done, but the payments are still due. That's right. And let me ask you that. How did it go with your lender during that time? Were they understanding? Were they demanding? They were. They were. They were very understandable, but we still were making payments. They were understandable as long as the money kept coming in. As long as the money came in.
I got
you. And so it never was an issue where we weren't going to make payments. So we had enough money in the deal, enough money hanging around and equity and stuff that we had that we could tap into. Right. But that by far was probably the biggest challenge that we faced, thus far. It was touch and go. I had 5 projects going during COVID. Oof. And, you touched on it. Relationships were critical for us at that time. Right. Boston, we couldn't work
couldn't even, not even, never mind inspectors. You're not even allowed to work on the projects during COVID for about 2 months.
Okay.
And then the other ones, those towns never fully shut down. Some were virtual.
Okay.
I had one in Brockton. I had one in Gloucester. And I have one elsewhere. But we didn't have to shut down. We had one in Mashpee. But at the end of the day, it was the relationships that got us through. My plumber lost half his crew because they were afraid.
Right.
The electrician lost half his crew, but our jobs continued to move forward, other than the one in Boston. Then when Boston opened up, we got it done. But those relationships were critical during that time frame.
And you know this, man, this is just a relationship business.
It really is. And let me ask you, so for you, Dexter, what are really the key relationships that have helped you grow your real estate investment business? And again, this is more to share with folks the types of folks they really need to be thinking about bringing into their circle, they need to be networking with, and they need to be connecting with.
Lender, attorney, contractors, were probably my big three.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Yep. And how do you guys source your deals?
Auction. Well, actually, the first couple were online auctions.
Okay.
And then the other couple were MLS.
MLS. Okay.
So our holding up business, and you and I talked about this, is we're not getting enough deal flow.
Right.
And so, now we're starting to look at, okay, how can we get better at some of the direct to seller stuff? So I think I had a conversation with
Carlos.
Carlos about doing some of that, ramping up some of those things.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how we source our deals. So as you're ready for more deals, man, let us know. We got you covered.
I'm ready for some more deals, man, because I look at where I want to go.
Right.
And the pace that we're going is just, it's not fast enough.
Right.
And so the first, like I said, the first couple of things that we've done gave us a template of what we can do. Now, over the last year, we've done a lot more consulting. So as people have watched me, so we're currently helping a woman in Milton. So her project should be done probably next week or two, and then we're helping a guy who has a 6 unit in Roxbury. But that guy married, he and his wife, and so I jumped in and helped him do some things. Because the property is probably worth
a couple million at least.
Man, please.
Yeah.
He had offers for $3 million as it was.
Wow.
Because
nice
it's right near 12th Baptist.
Okay. Yeah, that location, man. That huge project on the corner there.
And it's two other huge projects going on around him.
Correct. Yep.
And so by the time he's done, it'll probably be worth about, I think he said 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
Nice.
But it's generational wealth, and so that's why I jumped in with him, because I was like, man, I said, do you know this? I said, this is your golden egg, your golden goose here.
Correct. You tap into it, leverage it.
Oh my goodness, because I don't know what rents are, but at least $3-4 grand, I would think, a month somewhere in that area. For 6 units, 24,000 low end. Coming in, would you say 18,000 low end a month? Times 12, you can do the math, and then the equity. And I said, man, we could take that and spend it off on other properties. And so, very much like I was saying with me, if somebody would have said, Dexter, take the equity out of that and spend it over into something else, I would have known what to do. So, but because I know what to do with him, and then I was able to help him with the lender, I was able to help him with the different people. I was proud of you not getting close. I turned them on to, I forgot who I sent them to. But, the loans, like I think the loan was for 1.8, somewhere around there.
Right.
1.8. But that's just things that I've learned that, I wouldn't have learned, I didn't know prior to 2016, 2017, so.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, Dexter. If you kind of reflect on your career, what would you say is the most valuable lesson you learned that you would share with your younger self before you started on your journey? Whether it's, as a pastor, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in life, that it can go any direction you want to take it.
Have a sense of urgency. Because, one of my slides that I did in the workshop I just came out of, I said, time is your enemy.
Truth.
And this woman really jumped at it. So she did a Instagram live off it like yesterday, and she
tagged you.
She tagged me on it.
Yep.
And she's like, that line really stuck with me. And I was saying, listen, when I was a kid, there was a show, it's still on, called 60 Minutes.
Right. We all know 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes, right? So when I was a kid, my mom and dad would watch that like every Sunday night, and I would like, when they would come on, Rob, to me, what it meant was the end of the weekend.
Right. It's the worst sound, that tick, 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 tick. Time bomb till the weekend's over. Back to school.
I was like, dang, 60 minutes is hard. You know? So I'm ironing my clothes, getting ready for school tomorrow, because I went to Catholic school, so I'm ironing my shirt, my pants for school.
Yep.
You know, but I was saying that, you know, now I think about the ticks of our life.
Yep.
Tick, 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 tick. You 45. I'm 55. You know, I remember being 25.
Like it was yesterday.
I remember being 35. I remember my son was born. I remember my daughter was born. Tick, 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 tick. And what we do is we act like we have forever, and you don't.
Right.
You know, so you really got to get it done. You know, anybody who has been around me, so whether it's you see me speak at my church or whether you saw me speak on social media or whatever else, they've seen me talk about 2023 as the year of getting started. Because I believe everything that you've ever accomplished is on the other side of your start. So whether you graduate from high school, college, started a business, you did it because you got started. And one of the things that hinder people is the fear, but it's this procrastination thing.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a lady say this, back to my pastoring side. She said, procrastination is like, she said we procrastinate because we're arrogant and not believing that God is going to give us another 24 hours. And it ain't guaranteed.
That's true.
You know, and so whatever we need to do, we need to have a sense of urgency. Like, dude, you need to make the phone call today. Go visit the house today. You know, shoot the email today. But, you know, because, and particularly when you're younger, you just tend to think, I got a son who's 25 and daughter's 22. My oldest is 30. Oh, Lord, she get me if I told her. She's 36 or whatever she is. You know, but I just watch how they say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, dude, you like to do that like now.
That's
tomorrow. Because,
Yep.
I believe you're going to see tomorrow, but, you know, we need to have a sense of urgency. So, you know, anybody who's listening to me, you know, to us, you know, I'm just like, you need to get it done. You need to take the action because you don't know. And then particularly on your dreams and your visions and things that, you know, you get, you know, ideas. See, there's a certain energy with your ideas. That's why when you think of something, you energize.
Right. You got to move on it.
You got to move on. Then what happens is this: you procrastinate, and then discouragement sets in, and then you start talking to other people. The next thing you know, well, I'll do it next year, and then now here we go. Oh, 2024 is my year. No, native for 2024. 2020, we got what? We got 4 more months left.
Right. Yep.
In this year. So my thing is this: what can we accomplish in the next 120 days?
That's how you got to look at it.
If we get started and take action. But,
Great advice.
Yep. You know, so I that was a long-winded way of saying, get started, y'all.
Right. Time is your enemy.
60 minutes, tick, 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 tick. Yeah, time is ticking on you, man. And so, you know, all of us have dreams and desires that's on the inside of us that for whatever reason we just haven't moved. And I'm just like, nah, this is I really believe that this is just a time to move. So, you know, if you listen to us and you talk about real estate, you've always dreamed about getting it. No, dude, this is your year. That's why we're doing this podcast.
That's right.
Because we're trying to motivate you and create an environment where, you know, you see people like you or other real estate investors doing it. Because that's what got me started was I had a family, I had 2 people in my church who, you know, because I've been thinking about, I'm gonna do it, and then I saw their names are Rob and Crystal Forts, and so I said, hold up. If they can do it, I can do it, you know. And
that's
so
right.
it really got me moving when I saw them in movement, and so that's why I like shows like this and doing and talking, because I think a lot of times when you see people in movement, it encourages you.
Always, yeah. Especially if you have that desire.
Yeah.
It really shows you what's possible because it's someone so close to you.
Exactly.
And allows you to see yourself doing it.
Exactly.
And you see what's possible.
Exactly. Yeah. And you were, I don't know if you heard this, but when we did our conference in June, I was like, man, you know, some people were saying certain things. I said, listen, this is a room where we have suspended unbelief in here. Anything is possible in this room, you know, and so I believe that you can get in environments and you can get around people and you can get around situations and circumstances where your belief level is raised.
Oh, absolutely.
And when your belief level is raised, and you begin to take steps, you know.
Nothing will stop you. Excuse me.
I always that rap song. I'm all the way up. Nothing can stop me. You know, and but that's because you're taking some steps and you're taking some actions. Procrastination, man, it's a killer.
Right.
You know, so we got to move.
Love it, man. So Dexter, how can folks connect with you? I know you've got a course.
Yeah.
You got some mentorship. You got some cool things going on. So let us know a little bit about that and let me know, or let us know, let the audience know how folks can connect with you.
Well, they can always, a couple ways you can contact me. I'm always, holler at me and everything Dexter B. Jenkins across all social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'm on all that. But I really like to hang out on LinkedIn.
Excellent.
And Instagram. Those are my two main ones. And then they also can go to my website, dexterbjenkins.com. So on that website, Rob, it's my financial literacy and my real estate are both parked there. And so if they go there, they can I have a ebook that I give out for them checking it out. It's called the three ships of wealth, which stands for stewardship, ownership, and entrepreneurship. They smash the green button up top. They'll get that ebook. And then my course that I've done is really it's called the Getting Started in Real Estate Bundle. And what it is, and you know this, people always want to pick your brain.
Oh yeah.
Can I have your brain? So I'm like, okay, let me put down everything I've learned since 2017 in a course. And so if they go to my website, dexterbjenkins.com /getting started real estate, they'll see that there. And then, you know, that's so I think we got a couple ebooks and videos there that people can, you know, just get a sense of what it takes to get started. So
excellent. Well, Dexter, I definitely want to thank you for getting on the show today. I want to recognize you for all the great work you're doing in Boston and beyond to really educate that next generation of real estate entrepreneurs and really empower people to see what's possible for their lives through your example, through your students, and everything you do, man. So if you need support, you're looking for a real estate coach, or you want to take his course, I highly recommend Dexter. I can vouch for his character. I've known him for many years, and I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Nah, man, I appreciate you and being on the Closers Club. And, you know, you're a young guy, but you're one of the old heads that I look to.
I've been doing it 20 plus years. I'm young, but I started young.
You started young.
That's right.
You know, and
That's
so,
right. Yeah.
You know,
and I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I mean, guys like you that I look to, you know, so that's why I was excited just to be on here today.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Dexter. All right. That's a wrap.